On a Monday, I am waiting.
Mm.
Tuesday, I am fading. And by Wednesday, I give in. When a phone rings, I hear you. In the darkness is a clear view. You've come to rescue me.
Hmm.
Oh, with you I fell so fast. I can hardly catch my breath. I hope it lasts. Wait, hold on. I think I just sang two different songs.
You combine them. Wait, so she talks about the Monday to Wednesday. What happens on Thursday and Friday? Does she talk about that in the next couple of verses, or just Monday to Wednesday?
Actually, just Monday and Wednesday, but I could have sworn there was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but never mind. Hope seems like I can finally rest my head on something real. I like the way. Okay, okay, all right. No, we did the thing. We
Dude,
did the
that's pretty good, man.
Ashley Simpson. You didn't know that one?
I don't think so. Ashley Simpson. Is she the twin with that other Simpson girl?
Ashley
That
Simpson.
gives me kind of like middle school Evanescence vibes.
That was definitely around that. Yeah, she is the younger sister of Jessica Simpson.
Okay, got it. Okay, at least I know who she is.
Yeah,
But no, don't know that song. It's
man.
catchy though.
That's
We gotta create a verse just for Thursday to Friday.
Thursday to Friday. Oh,
Um,
man, what's up? What you been up to, man? We got a
how,
new setting, new setting in the background.
New setting, yeah, new office setup. Just moved over to Jack's Beach. So kind of in the middle of transitioning everything from the old house to new house. But yeah, about to be part of that coastal life, man, which I know you're actually experiencing right now, right?
Yep. So out here in Jersey Shore,
Shout out
Chris,
Jersey Shore, baby.
yeah, one of my mentors, we had messaged him if he knew anyone that was renting for some weeks in the summer, just because we always do a summer trip with Christy's family. And he's like, I actually have this date because my daughter's graduating. So if you're down for this date, we can make it work. So we rented from him. Great discount, six spot right on the beach. It's been amazing. It's been amazing. And you're probably thinking, like, why in the world are you still podcasting while you're technically on vacation? And, someone was like, are we still doing office hour calls on Tuesday at 12? I'm like, hell yes, because I love it. I love the podcast and I love doing office hours calls for our group. So, it is hot. I'll get some sun later. And I've already had Wawa about 5 times. You know the vibes, baby.
Let's go. I think it's all about like curating some sort of work that you feel really passionate about. Because when you integrate it, everyone's always talking about like work life balance, right? Where they're a lot of their balance part is to kind of like offset what they don't like at work. But when it's something that you actually do enjoy, right? Like talking about office hours, podcasting, rambling about sales, marketing, lead gen, discovery calls, right? Which is what we'll be talking about today. Then it's something where like, hey, you can integrate it into kind of your time off. You feel relaxed, but at the same time, it's like, hey, I'm down and excited to chat about this stuff.
For sure. And, it's one of those things where it's like, it's kind of easy to do because,
Yeah,
you lay on the beach for 3 hours, come back home, have Wawa. Like, I'm here, I'm ready to go. If this was like insane time differences, like if I was traveling to Asia again for the first time in a long time, like there's no way we're doing this podcast. Like I'm gonna be in, some waterfalls or whatever. But when it's easy like this, you just hop on and you start ripping. But on vacation, what is like your flow of things? What do you typically do? Like, let's say you're just taking like a extended weekend.
yeah. Usually, I like to try and get like a 3 to 4 hour some sort of workout in the morning. Usually extended because a lot of times I won't be able to get 3 or 4 hours in. So if I do kind of have like an extended weekend, usually a little bit more time in the sun, some pickleball, some running. That's always something that I really enjoy. But usually I'll kind of sleep in a little bit, wake up around like 7 or so instead of kind of the usual wake up time. Get some sun in, get some exercise. I'm not a big layer in the sun, man. So just like laying on the beach, unfortunately, that is not my vibe. That is all Catherine's vibe, though. I think Christy is kind of similar, the same way, right? Where they can kind of just lay on the beach there. But yeah, for me, I'm always a big activity guy. Always like to find some sort of activity to do. But yeah, and then whatever Catherine has planned. She's always the planner of all the trips and vacays. I'm kind of just tagging along. My two big requirements for any kind of trips that we take is that, hey, there has to be some sort of like physical activity time slotted in for me in the morning, and then there has to be some sort of like Asian food spot that we go to. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I've had Asian food in the most random places. There's like pho. I've had pho. I've had pho everywhere besides Vietnam. Like I've been like so many places in Europe. I'm like, let's just try the pho here. It's gonna be a little bit different, and it's always like subtle differences. But no,
Yo, GGC outing to Vietnam next year. Get some fun.
the mastermind is gonna go crazy. But I'm the same way, man. Like I got to do activities. I played paddleball. We played spike ball, which is fun.
Hell yeah.
And if I like sit, I either have to like read a book or I'll sit there with a beer and I'll like enjoy the water just hitting the shore.
Mhm.
I just like, I don't know. It's so hard to just enjoy the water. Like I need a drink. There's something about like being at the beach. Like yesterday, I was like, man, I need a light beer. Like for some reason, I'm just on the beach. I'm like, it's 11 a.m., but I'm ready to drink a Pacifico. Like
Yeah.
it's just one of those things.
One of the things we really enjoy doing whenever we go someplace abroad is to find like whatever the local light beer is, and
Oh
kind of
yeah,
like test it out. Yeah.
dude, it was uh Porto beer. I forget what it is. In Portugal, they had some. Oh, Superbach.
Mm.
That was a solid one. But yeah, same thing. We drink like whatever is like light beer around the area. And dude, that's one of I call him my brother-in-law. He's not married in a family yet, but he poured like a bottle of like, he was pouring some whiskey in a cup and I just like took a sip. And I'm like, I poured it back in. I'm like, bro, I'm only light beers and wine.
Too
I
heavy
love
for it.
scotch.
Do
Love
you
scotch.
feel like your like creative juices get flowing when you're in kind of like a super relaxed environment like that for a couple days?
I think so. I think part of me is like just reflects more on like the journey and the things that like have been happening, and then like you get to set time away from stuff and you kind of realize like things about yourself, things about business. I would say things about life.
Yeah,
um but yeah, anything that takes you out of your normal environment, I think automatically makes you think of stuff, right?
for
Like
sure.
even if you like wanted to go like a new way to work, go to a different coffee shop, there's just so many ways to kind of get something similar. And I think getting different inputs is what it's about. What about you?
Yeah, I think I'm the same way. Like, I think I had a couple big kind of like I don't know about aha moments, but like I think we talked a little bit about it on the podcast last week when I was out in the safari, all right, and kind of just like stars are out, and I'm just like, wow, like life is life is pretty short, and we're just like so small within this world. There's just so much out there, and a lot of the problems that that come up at work, they're really not that large. But a lot of times you can't really seem to look at it from that perspective when you're so inundated with like the day-to-day things, right? And so sometimes, yeah, like placing yourself into a newer environment where you can kind of like step back a little bit, kind of zoom out and kind of take a little bit look at a different from things from a different lens can be definitely beneficial.
No, for sure. Man, we didn't get a good setup on this one for what we're about to talk about.
We
But
just rip the band-aid off, we jump right in, man.
we maybe, no, I can't tie anything to this one. Here we go. What are we talking about? We're talking about getting more qualified discovery calls. And I think one of the things I always ask people in the group, right, when they're like, like my close rate is kind of low, or like I haven't been able to get a ton of like plan of care to like, ongoing subscription. I kind of ask them, it's like, is that person that's coming through your door that you're working with, talking on a phone, like, do these feel like people that you actually want to be working with? Are you like excited about these conversations? And oftentimes it's twofold, right? We definitely do have to get better at sales, but there's a lot of times that we have to get better at marketing so that sales does not have to be so hard. And I credit this to Gary Vaynerchuk. He says, get so good at marketing so that sales can be easier, right? Because
Mhm.
when sales is always so hard, chances are you're not marketing. People don't know why you're different, how you're going to make a huge impact. And I find that when you get better at marketing, doing the things that we hate doing, the social media, the email newsletters, DM conversations, all of these things, all of a sudden, the people that get on the phone with you, you're like, hey, how's it going? My name is so and so. Can I give you money? Like that's kind of what we want to get to. But Peter, for you, what's the first thing that comes top of mind when you're like, I want more qualified discovery calls?
Yeah, I think a lot of times it goes exactly what you were saying before about putting a lot of the effort into marketing so the sales does get easier. A lot of times when people don't necessarily convert as well on discovery calls, it's really because they don't necessarily know or trust us as well. If we can kind of nurture them a little bit more through our marketing efforts, right? Give them a little bit more value. A lot of our best calls or the evals that do stay on long term, they've already done their research on us. They've already been through our website. They feel aligned to our message of what we're trying to say. And so I think one of the easiest ways for people is to just, consistently put things out there, whether it's, on social media or consistently run the ads, but speak it in a way that resonates with the avatar. I think, we can even use like us, for example, right? A lot of the times I'll get on sales calls with people for, about our consulting go-getters, and they're like, yeah, dude, we just been listening to your podcast and like, we're about the vibes, man. And they're all in. And for us, it's really, we're not really changing anything. It just happens to be our personalities, right? And so sometimes if you can kind of just, tie in your personality along with like what your avatar is dealing with and speak to their struggles, then a lot of times it will speak volumes to them and they will feel aligned to wanting to work with you.
Yeah, I love. I used to think like the avatar thing was so ridiculous, and I think it's because so many people do it wrong,
Mhm.
right? People think it's like, oh, I help like, males in their 30s and 40s that live in Ohio get back to living uh, life to the fullest and like shredding 20 pounds, et cetera. It's like so hyper specific, right? It's like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, okay, he's only going to work with males 30 to 40 that live in Ohio. And it's like, that's not what Avatar is. And Avatar isn't changing your IG bio and pretending that like you're gonna have great leads coming through the door. That's like the lowest barrier to entry. Just announcing what you do. What you really need to do is like when you're creating content, when you're crafting your marketing message, you're talking to one person. And ideally you've worked with enough people that you know who you really like working with from your previous clients. And you literally pick that one person and you create a freaking profile about them, and from that profile you start to figure out, how can I layer this into my website, how can I layer this into my content. But what are some things that you kind of think about when you like profile stuff like that, Peter?
Profile stuff. Sorry, word that one more time.
Like when you're like looking at like creating an avatar and like creating a profile of your favorite client, like what are some things that you kind of ask yourself or
Yeah,
think about?
so you can get at like super specific, right? Like, hey, what are like the dream goals of my ideal avatar? So, I think a really simple exercise that people can do is you take like a list of maybe like 5 to 10 of your best clients and like figure out like what exactly was their dream outcome that they're looking to do. And you basically take those, and you'll probably hear like similar keywords that come up or topics that come up, right? And then you use that and put that into your marketing message. And then same thing with like the things that they don't like, or what are their worst fears, right? And then so you kind of have like, hey, dream outcome, worst fears, cool. Now I have like an ideal understanding of, who this person is, and then from there you can even get granular in terms of like, hey, what is the age range of this ideal avatar? Hey, are they typically in their like 40s or 50s? And sometimes it might change. At the very beginning for me, it was mostly, hey, just like CrossFitters, and I want to work with like younger athletes. But then I realized like the more longer we're in business, a lot of the people that were spending a lot of time and money with us were all people in their kind of like 40s to 60s. All right, a little bit more established, busy professionals, if you will. Right, and so slowly I realized, oh, cool, like maybe we should be talking to these avatars. What do they like to do on the weekend? A lot of times too, it's like, hey, initially at the very beginning, where can people congregate at? People that are active. And so we talk about like setting up local events and workshops. And so getting in front of these people is like a really good way to kind of start marketing to them, especially if you know what are the things that they like to do.
Let's go. And that's the stuff that fires me up, right? Because I love marketing. I love talking to specific people. And I'll say the biggest mistake was me not answering the questions that Peter have just laid out. If you're getting started, like I want you to literally rewind the past like 2 minutes and just take down every single thing that Peter's written and start to put it into an actual sheet. Because the goal with marketing, right, is to attract the right lead. But the overall principle is you want someone to read or consume the content you're putting out and be like, that's me. And that can only happen if you're talking to one person. If you're talking too many generalities, it gets very, very tough. So that's why in the beginning I was like, but I kind of want to work with everyone. It's okay, right? Like people can be like, if this person works with athletes, he could probably help someone that's a weekend warrior. If this person works with weekend warriors and athletes, probably helps people that are runners, because runners are kind of in that kind of category, right? Don't worry too much about the Instagram bio too much, as long as you don't put yourself in like this pigeonhole. I know a lot of people sometimes will say like, hey, I only work with soccer players. I'm like, dude, a lot of people won't reach out to you. You just put soccer players there and all your content's around soccer, and then you're upset that you don't have a business yet. Just say that you help athletes. And, some guru would be like, oh, but that's too general. Yeah, sure. But if you create content, you're playing soccer in your content, they're going to know that you play soccer. When they watch your stories and you have a soccer league that you're a part of, they're going to know that you can help them.
Yeah, I think a really great place for people to kind of see who you help is really just through your social media. So highlight like your ideal avatar that you like working with. So like a really good and easy place for you to do is really just start taking videos of your clients that you really enjoy working with and start highlighting them on your social media. So if you enjoy working with like a specific age range, show them, crushing it through their exercises or going through a transformation, highlighting them on their social media. So that way, when a specific avatar comes in onto your page, whether it's through ads or through kind of organic posting, and they see like multiple other versions of themselves, like, hey, that guy looks like me, and he's able to get out of back pain, get back to doing this again. Cool, maybe that can be me as well too. And if you don't have any initial clients yet, you can use yourself as the avatar. Right. It's like, hey, like if you like working with runners, cool. Like, do show a couple different like races that you've done. Right? I think a lot of times fitness influencers, they're like a really good example of this, right? Where people like to work with people if they feel like they can get the same outcome that these fitness influencers are able to accomplish for themselves. Now, pain, right, is a little bit more difficult because you can't really visualize pain as something as dramatic versus kind of like a fitness transformation. But yeah, start posting stuff on your social media in terms of the content so that people can see, cool, like this is potentially maybe an example of like the people that he is currently helping. And if they look and feel like them, then they would be a little bit more resonated to be able to kind of reach out to you.
Yeah. And you can't see, you can kind of see pain. I'll challenge you on that, right? Like if you are someone, let's say you're a physical therapist and you had ACL tear and you documented your whole journey when you're a kid or high school and college, and it's the reason why you're a physical therapist today, like by all means show that journey, right? Because like people are going to be like, wow, not only am I going to see a physical therapist that is super interested in ACL, they've actually had an injury themselves, rehab themselves, like taking themselves through this process, or they discovered their love of the profession through this process. I got to go see this person. Other things that I think are super helpful is like when you think about that like demographic or that person in your head, that avatar, we call it like ideal client avatar, ICA. What have they tried in the past, right?
Mhm.
Because I think that is one thing that works really, really well when you're writing copy. If we're talking about physical therapy, it's like, hey, let me guess, you ever try physical therapy that feels like a factory mill? They give you heat or ice in the beginning, you get ultrasound, get stretch, a couple of bullshit exercises, and you're on your way. And every single week you come back, multiple times a week actually, you come back and it feels like you're getting babysat instead of actually seeing a healthcare provider. People are like, oh, damn, how does he know? I'm like, because that's a shared experience. We could do the same thing for people that are listening to Go Getters Coaching Podcast. Like, let me guess, you're a physical therapist working at an insurance clinic right now, and you're freaking swamped. You see 15 to 20 plus patients a day, and that'd be bearable and manageable, but you have to do 15 to 20 notes on top of that. And every single time you're in a meeting with your manager, they don't actually talk about how you can become a better provider. They just tell you why you haven't been productive. And the only role that you can see yourself growing into is a clinical director role. But you've seen your clinical directors and they look fucking miserable. And now you're thinking to yourself, is this degree worth it? Well, that's why we exist for Go Getters Coaching. The other avatar that we have, right? It's hey, let me guess, you tried all the business mastermind groups and you've exhausted the one method that they had. Maybe it was just paid ads in the beginning, but paid ads don't work when you have no reviews or none of these things happening. Maybe you've done a bunch of workshops, but you know what? The workshops that you're doing, maybe you're in a city where workshops don't work well, like New York City, and you need different methods, you need different ways of building and scaling your practice. Well, we're not a one size fit all. We don't tell you to just do one thing. We have a bunch of different options, but I can't tell you what's going to work because every business is different. And you can go on to another ICA, right? But it's like the next level ICA would just be like, hey, you're doing really well, but you're scared of scaling beyond yourself. And you could just keep listing things that they've tried in the past. But hopefully you're listening to the message like, oh shit, I got to book a call, right? Because that means we've done marketing well.
It's like, how is he talking exactly about my situation?
Yeah. But that's what really good marketing is. And when you
Yeah.
can put that into your message and all platforms. And Alex Ramosi has a great quote: "You can charge more when you're consistent across all platforms." Right? If your social media says the same thing as your website says the same thing as your email newsletters, that message gets amplified. You get positioned higher on someone's totem pole to work with. But if messages are different across all these different platforms, that lack of consistency doesn't allow you to charge as much because they don't see you as valuable for that specific subject matter expert or field.
I think one of the things that can be really helpful for people is like, how can we systemize this at scale? And one of the things that we've been able to do this is through like a CRM. So all these like little different scenarios and pain points that you've been talking about with all these different avatars. A lot of times when we are collecting these leads information, they just go into either like our CRM, but a lot of times people don't actually reach out to them or they don't continue to nurture them, right? And if we want to talk about how can we actually book more discovery calls, it's about like, hey, once they do go into your CRM, cool, can we have some sort of drip sequence that slowly goes out to them over a series of 3 to 4 weeks or even months, right? And then whether you do some sort of manual reach out touch point asking them, hey, like, how's XYZ going? Or you have a series of drip sequences that talks to them about like all these different things that they are struggling with. And eventually at some point, if they continue to open up all these different emails, then hopefully they feel compelled to be able to, book a call. But I think a mix of both these like automations of SMS, emails, along with if you guys have like a SDR, a setter, or a front desk person like doing manual reach outs, like this is really how you slowly start to fill up your book discovery calls at scale.
And the thing that Peter's talking about is like in the overwhelming side of it, the principle is trust, right? Marketing is to help build trust, and you can do that through the CRM. And you have to think about like any like high purchasing decision that you've made. How did you make that decision, right? You made that decision because you started to trust the company. Maybe it's the content they put out. Maybe it's that they collaborated with influencers that you trust. Maybe it's like they're featured in a certain magazine or etc. Whatever it is, that's all it is. We're just trying to build trust. So when you have the CRM, it's like how can I put myself in the shoes of the person that wants to make a buying decision for me? What do they need to know in order to feel comfortable moving forward? And then you can start to break those things down. What are things that you put into the CRM and the ongoing messages that you think allows the people that work at or come to Motion RX to feel confident spending money with you guys?
Yeah. So social proof, overwhelm them with social proof.
Peter is king of social proof.
Dude, they cannot not see our social proof. That's like the number one thing that we're really big on is really just client success and making sure that the people coming in feel like, hey, like I'm able to get results here. So I would say social proof. And then the second thing is addressing any kind of potential objections that we might get. So one of the really big ones for people in our space is like, hey, I want to be able to use my insurance. And so we can create some sort of pre discovery call, video sales letter, or for those of you guys who don't know what a VSL, it's really just like a video of you talking up and addressing all these common questions that people might have. Hey, like, well, do you guys take insurance? Well, great. If you're consistently getting this question on your discovery call, why don't we create either a document or a video of you talking about why we don't take insurance? And these are all the benefits of us not taking insurance. So I think the goal of kind of like these nurture sequences before people get on a call is so that the call goes as fast and as smooth as possible. So you give them all the information that they might have questions on beforehand. And then a lot of times too, it's really the second part, right? After you do address all their questions and uncertainty, it's really just like hey, am I going to get results? And that's really where the social proof comes in. And so for us, we do a mix of like Google reviews, like whiteboard pictures, and even kind of like video testimonials as well too. And so I don't know. I think people just kind of respond to different resources in different ways. So that's why we kind of have a mix of things. But yeah, we definitely just want to get them as much information as possible before they get on the discovery call, just to tee up as much success as possible for our front desk SDRs.
The objection one is funny because, like, I honestly think some questions are easier to answer with an automation than it is over the phone, right? Like, do you take my insurance? It's so easy for someone to say no, and then they hang up on you like super, super quick, right? But when they're reading a text, it's like, okay, in order for me to close this thing, I have to move my mouse. So like they don't mind reading a little bit more. And as long as you can keep their attention, you can get a longer runway to nurture somebody, right? So as you're creating the CRM, remember, be creative with the messaging, right? The subject title, it's like, why the best healthcare providers don't take out insurance, or like, we don't take insurance, and why, and here's why it's going to help you even more, right? Like, get them to be kind of interested in as to why these things are happening. But the cool part about the CRM is it doesn't need to be robotic. It can be uniquely yourself. If you were reading one of the Go Getters newsletters recently, like this past week, I started the newsletter as right? Like, it's just like a New York thing. But people are like, holy cow, that's hilarious. So if there's like a local kind of flavors, things that you can add, like what's something that's, what I think some people were saying something in your Jacksonville friends, like Duval or something like that.
Duval.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could put stuff that's like local to your city and your community. And I think someone said it best, I forget who it is. It's better to be a local celebrity than it is to be a worldwide celebrity, right? Like,
Yep.
if someone knows that you're about the community, I don't know, it makes that small business thing feel so much more real.
Yeah. 100%. I think one of the main things, aside from the CRM, is to really help people see you everywhere. All right. And so like they see your organic content on Instagram. They see you in their email. They see you in their SMS. They see you at their gym. Right. At some point, if it becomes impossible for them to like unsee you, then at some point, like they will make that first initial step, which is to book that initial discovery call. And it's funny that we keep talking about the insurance thing, but one of the things that we've been testing out over these last 2 months is running an ad specifically calling out that insurance. Right. So it's like, hey, if you've been doing physical therapy, and all you're doing is like banded stuff, let me guess, you're probably doing all these things: boom, 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 pain point, pain point, pain point. And then everybody who does come from that ad and books a discovery call, they're like, yeah, like I've tried all the things. I've tried the insurance, physical therapy. I've tried all these like things that exactly you talked about, and I'm still dealing with this pain point. And so I think if you are experiencing a lot of objections, then one of the ways you can qualify a lead harder is to specifically talk directly to that lead exactly like that. So now everybody that comes in through that ad has already gone through traditional insurance, physical therapy, and they're looking for a different solution.
The seeing of something everywhere is really, really powerful. As you start to scale beyond like one location, like just knowing that like someone has five locations, it just makes you feel a little bit more real, more authentic, right? Like if you're only in like one part of the internet or one part of the world, it's very difficult. There was a great line where it's like 0 to 1 million is like almost impossible. 1 to 10 million is unlikely. 10 million to 100 million is like inevitable, right? Like when you get to like 10 million, getting to 100 becomes so much easier because you're just replicating the thing to multiple locations now. But going from 0 to 1 million, it's freaking tough. Not a lot of people get there. And then going from 1 to 10 is still got its equal challenges. But by the time you get to 10, you're a pretty mature business. You're just replicating these things. And the power of scale is everywhere. When you when you start to take yourself a little bit more seriously, you have ads, you have Instagram, you have maybe YouTube, you have SEO, you have all of these kind of flywheels going. Boom. That's how you go quote unquote viral in the right ways, right? That's how the right people start to find you. Because if you only got one way of doing things, it's going to be so hard for the right person to find you. But if you're doing 5 or 6 different things,
Yeah.
there's so many chances for people to find you.
I was at track about 2 weeks ago, and towards the end, one of my buddies I hadn't seen him in a long time. He comes up to me, is like, "Bro, I see your face literally everywhere." I just cracked up. I was like, "Yeah, man, like you're our ideal avatar, dude. Like you're a local runner in Jacksonville. It's like you see our stuff in like the local run stores. You see, he's like, yeah. Every time I open up my phone, he's like, I see your ads, like, hey, Jacksonville runners. And I'm like, dude, I've already been to you, like, all right, but it's like that's the whole point. It's like just inundate them so much with your content, with your social proof. Like, hey, like you are legitimate, the best person in the area for this specific problem. And yeah, like control that market, dominate it, and like there's no way that people won't feel like you're the good fit. I think a lot of times about like the high ticket offers that I purchase, and it's 100%. I would do the research, right? I'll look into stuff, but it's always like after I see like so much social proof on my phone, and it's like every time I open up my phone, I see, all right, boom, social proof, this guy again. Oh, great. Like I already see it. If it's like after like 2 or 3 months, it's like, all right, let me go ahead, let me book a call with this guy, let me see what he's about, man. So it's really being consistent and exactly going with what you were saying, like having all these different multiple flywheels just allows you to have these like consistency across like multiple different verticals to inundate people.
Yeah, I had the ad come up. It's like this guy that coaches other healthcare professionals on how to grow their Instagram following. And I submitted a request, and he was just like, why'd you submit a request? I'm like, because I can always get better. And I'm just interested to see what you guys do. But I know that after submitting that request, I'm going to get hit by their ads
Yeah.
heavy, right? And I just kind of want to see what other testimonials and stuff like that they got.
Mhm.
But it's funny you mentioned that because like that's literally what happens to me. I submit a form, I might not be ready yet, but then I get hit by ads like crazy. Or sometimes I submit a meeting and I'm like, I don't really need this right now. I'll hit X and I'll just see what kind of keeps coming up on the feed, and then eventually I'm like, wow, undeniable. Let's get on a call and do this thing. Um, Other things I think about, it's like have actual conversations. If you're on social media and you're just posting and you're just putting out stuff out into the ecosystem, but you're not talking to people that get into your ecosystem, you're just wasting so much time and you're making it a lot harder on yourself. And this is easy, right? Like when you're first getting started, if you have under 1,000 followers, every one of those 1,000 followers should know exactly what you do, right?
Yep.
And it just starts with a conversation. Hey, really appreciate the follow. Are you mainly following for the content? Or are you interested in pain and rehab? Boom. You get someone that's qualified, right? If someone says just for the content, then beautiful. Ask them what kind of content you can provide for them. And all of a sudden they'll start to tell you a bunch of things that they've had in the past, nagging injuries. And that's like, and don't worry, you don't have to sell them immediately. You just create that content, and all of a sudden you can continue that conversation. It's like, hey, really appreciate the content idea from last week. I just created and posted it today. Hope you find value from it. And by giving value, someone eventually would be like, hey, when I need physical therapy, I'm going to reach out to this person. But now if the flip side, it's like someone's like, no, I'm interested in pain and rehab. It's like, all right, perfect. Tell me where you're at now and tell me where you want to be in the next 3 to 6 months. Like, how can we help you? And then you just build the shit out of that gap, and then you book a call and then you get them on. But there are people that will follow you and they won't make any decisions until you you reach out
Yep.
to them and do some outbound messaging, right? Because they might be up in the air with like 3 or 4 different physical therapy clinics, but who are they going to pick? The physical therapy clinic that's like passively there, or the one that's actually reaching out to them and asking them questions? They're probably going to pick you.
Yeah, I think like manual reach outs, and setting a doable number on a daily basis is a really great place for people to start. Yeah, it's like, hey, like if you're just starting out, cool. What's a reasonable number of DMs that I can send every single day? Cool. Can I send 10? Can I send 20? If if I have all these names on my CRM and leads, how many people can I text or call every single day that is within my bandwidth? Is it 10, 15? And then from there, as you build out a team, now you can do these things at scale. And so I'll give you guys like just a sample. So for all of our front desk SDRs, every single day, they're doing around 200 to 250 calls every single day to outbound to all of these leads. And so you compare that and to maybe like a clinic who only does like 50 outbound calls a day, or even less than that if they don't make any calls at all and they're just waiting for inbound. Like, which clinic do you feel like is going to be able to reach more people and ultimately set more discovery calls, right? And so if you want to do things at scale, at large, right, figure out what are the right inputs. And it's exactly what Andy was saying. Hey, we got to have conversations with these people, whether it's through initially through like DMs or text, and then eventually funneling them onto a discovery call. But set some sort of non-negotiable for you. Right? Is it going to be 5? Is it going to be 10? Is it going to be 15? Once you slowly start to master that, cool. Can we slowly start to increase and ramp up the volume of that? Once you reach like a breaking point where you feel like you can't do anymore, cool. How can we create some sort of SOP and offload it to somebody else and have them carry out and increase that volume ultimately over the course of time?
Yeah, to give you guys an example, it's like when you're doing these things, remember, you're not doing these things forever. In the first like 2 to 3 years of business, you're going to wear every fucking hat. I saw this guy who's doing a competition. It's like has many t-shirts as you can put on in 20 seconds. And I'm going to create a, what is it called? I'm going to remix that. I'm like, what it's like to be a physical therapy entrepreneur the first 3 years. Marketing t-shirt, this t-shirt, this t-shirt, right? It's like, you just need to do enough so that you can generate money and you can use that money to buy back your time, aka Dan Martell. So like for us, like what did I do? I was doing 5 opens every single day and doing 5 DM conversations. Now we've offloaded that to somebody who's doing 50 DM conversations a day. And just last week we pulled 5 evals, 1 already paid in full, just from DM conversations alone, right? And 5 evals is sometimes more than what some people would get in a workshop. And this is just one flywheel that we're working on. So if it's painful, just know that it's temporary, right? Like you're not going to be at your kid's soccer game doing DM conversations, forever, or on a cruise. It's like you do this to build your business. And when you build your business, use the resources from that to get your time back so that you can focus on higher level things.
It gives you skin in the game too, especially as you bring on newer team members. And so, like, one of the things that I always tell team members that we bring on is like, dude, I've literally been in your position, and so I will never ask you to do something or reach a KPI that I am unable to do myself. And so, like, I'll spend time and like understand, okay, hey, realistically, how many calls can one person make, and how many, what's the average conversion percentage that somebody should be able to convert from lead to eval, and then now hey, like these are the estimated KPIs or a range that I can expect somebody to come into as well. And the funny thing too is like I'll let them know it's like, hey, like I don't expect you to perform at 100% of what I can. So this is what I was able to do within like a 3-month period when I was doing this consistently. Here's 80% of that, and these are the KPIs that you're going to be looked to hit for that. So now also too, it's like people coming in, they're like, all right, cool. Like, yeah, Peter's the owner, but he's done like all these discovery calls. He's done all these like DM settings. He's done all these evals. He knows what it's like. So it's not like it's an unrealistic expectation that he's trying to set for me,
Yeah, you just gotta get your hands dirty, right? Like, and
Yeah,
when
be in the trenches.
yeah, when shit hits the fan, you gotta be the Swiss Army knife. Eventually you'll as you grow, there's more Swiss Army knives that'll be a part of your team. But when you're a small business owner, you are the Swiss Army knife. If the cleaning lady gets sick, guess who's cleaning? Motherfucker, you're going in there with a broom and you're gonna brush the shit out of that and you're gonna have a smile on your face, right? When your SDR is sick or when they quit, guess who's gonna be taking sales calls? You are. When a PT leaves abruptly out of nowhere, all of a sudden, guess who's gonna start seeing sessions? You are. And this happens until your team grows. But it's all we talked about our last podcast episode. It's all about being able to talk about the random scars, right, that you get along the way. Any other quick actionable tips to getting more qualified leads, discovery calls?
I would say this one is maybe a little bit more specifically for paid ads. or even actually no, not even that. Maybe even just people who are opting into your website. One of the things you can do is to increase friction. So if you guys are getting maybe like unqualified leads, start adding friction. And what I mean by that is like adding specific qualifying questions to make sure, hey, these are the right people for you. And so one of the things that you can do if you don't want to have the insurance question is like if people are opting into like a an instant form on Facebook, one of the questions is that you can put on there is really just like, hey, like, do you know that we don't take insurance? If this is something that you're still interested in, then click yes. And now that proceeds them into the next step. And then maybe the next one is like, hey, if we like call you at the time that you requested, will you pick up? Yes or no? So you just basically make it harder and harder and harder for people to apply. And so now, like, the people who do make it to that final stage, they're just very, very high intent, right? Like, hey, you know for sure, like they're going to pick up the discovery call at the time you call them. You know that they're not going to be, like whining about insurance or whatever, and they're going to be a really good fit. So it's always kind of like a fine balance between making sure people are like qualified, but also at the same time, like not being overly setting like too much boundaries and pushing away people that potentially maybe you could be able to convert on discovery calls. So you guys kind of just have to kind of experiment and see. Like this is a process that like our clinic is continually trying to refine to be able to figure out like, hey, what can we do to get the most amount of volume in, but at the same time have the majority of the volume be like good intent people who are wanting to book discovery calls. So I think qualifying questions, that's one of it. And then the second thing would just be like, hey, from your marketing content, right? Like, are you attracting the right demographic, which, we kind of talked a little bit about before.
Yeah, and again, if your lifetime value, it's not about like getting all the freaking words, right? Like getting the lowest cost per click. It's getting the right click, getting the right leads to kind of come through.
Yeah, and maybe this is something that we can chat about on a future episode too. But just like the type of creative and that you're putting out there, like I was listening to a podcast and like there's this company and they do around 1 million a month, and dude, they test out 3 to 5 different ads every single day.
Jeez.
And so when I hear the type of volume from that, and I'm like sitting here, I'm like thinking, I'm like, shit, man, like I'm like having difficulty even just coming up with like 5 new creatives like in a month, I'm still running the same creative from like last month. I'm like, shit, well, that's the type of, of work that it takes to be able to scale to 1 million a month. And so a lot of times, like if you feel like the people that are coming in aren't necessarily the right type of people, cool, maybe switch up the creative. But yeah, you just got to have the right intent, continuously test things out, and be okay with doing the work. It's part of it.
Yeah. I'm going to have one last point and it'll tie into how we'll close this podcast. Last point is like, if you're at a workshop or you're speaking to a group of people, don't just like throw an offer out, right? And be like, hey, we have half off evaluations for the next 5 people that sign up for an eval. Just literally talk about what you represent as a company and who's the right person to book an evaluation, and tell them that you've got a sweet deal for them if they come to chat with you, right? When you close a workshop, just be like, hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Peter. I work at Motion RX. We've been helping some of Jacksonville's runners and people that want to stay active for the past 5, 10, whatever years that you've been in business. And for us, it's all about making sure that people get the right care that they need. So many times we hear people go to these clinics that do X, Y, Z, but we're so different from that. Within the first session, this is what you're going to be getting. And people that we work with, we don't get them back to 100%. We get them back to 110%. Our goal is to make sure that people do things that they've never been able to do, even after they've gotten injured, because that's the only way that we know that they've surpassed this injury. So this is the things I get fired up about, right? So if you're like, hey, this sounds great, but I would rather just go to a clinic where you get massage and you lay on the table and you do a bunch of bullshit exercises, be my guest. We're not the right physical therapy clinic for you. But if you're like, hey, my body's an investment, I want to make sure I can perform at the highest capability ever, well, we got a sweet treat for you. Come chat with me after this workshop closes, and then we'll talk about some of the deals that we have going on right now to help you. And when you close that way, you're qualifying people, right? It's like, okay, I don't want that. I want the shit that you're talking about. So I'm going to come chat with you. To tie this all together, before we end this podcast, listen, we got GGC Live coming up, right? We didn't do the beginning good. but we're going to end well with the connection. GGC Live, August 9th to 10th in Orlando. If you're someone that is thinking about entrepreneurship and you just want to be surrounded by that energy, it's going to be great. Listen, you've probably done a shit ton of Con Ed courses and learned a bunch of things about bones and joints. And granted, you can always be a better physical therapist, but have you done something that might potentially lead you to become a better entrepreneur? A bucket that you haven't been able to develop quite as much as your ability to see hip biomechanics and rib cage movements and plyometrics. Pull up. If you're someone that's had business coaching before in the past, but you haven't been able to consistently cross 10K, we've been able to do that for almost 95% of people that have been in our group. There are a couple of people that haven't hit it yet, but most of the people that we work with hit it within 3 months, which is pretty awesome. If you're someone that's trying to scale beyond yourself and you're feeling like you're hitting a wall, and you're like, hey, I don't want to just commit to another business coach that's going to tell me to do more workshops. We get it. We've been there before. So GGC Live, August 9th to 10th. There's so many things. We're covering mindset, sales, marketing. The community is going to be dope. We'll have me, Peter, Christy there, guest speaker Daniel, a couple of homies from the community, the mentorship, the program itself. And then we're, allowing people that aren't a part of the GGC community to come to get a taste of it. And I promise you will make your money back. I think any one of the presentations we have will automatically make your money back. And if it doesn't, well, Peter and I would be buying around, taking people to lunch, a nice dinner. So pull up, it'd be a good time. Anything to add there, Peter?
Dude, I'm hyped and excited for it, man. Honestly, it's really just for me, a lot of these live events, and I said this time and time again, it's all about like just being around the energy there, being around other people who are trying to achieve the same thing as you. There's just something about live events every single time that I leave one. I'm just absolutely fired up, ready to run through a brick wall, man. So super pumped to kind of give other people the same type of energy that I experience whenever I go to all these other different live events.
Let's go. Catch you guys next week. By the way, 35-star reviews. That is beautiful. Can we get this to 35? I don't know. We'll see. Catch you guys next week.
Peace.
Peace.